Hey folks, we're back. Hold on. We are back. I am your host, BKP. Good morning from the office, North Georgia's only live online morning show. All right, only live online morning show. Let me tell you how you can text the show or call us. Maybe you want to be on the show. 889-9700, chief@fetchernews.com. And there are all the social media ways you can follow the show. Now, let me say this. Before we start, I want to make sure, I want to be clear. One, if you read our Facebook post on this particular show, not the Fetcher News website, but this particular show, you will see that we announce every morning it's an opinion show. This is an opinion show that I do. And from time to time, we venture into some local news. So if you're out there nationally, you may want to stay with us, but we venture into some local news. I want to look at the camera and I want to say something very, very clear as the CEO of FetcherNews.com. We support law enforcement. Period. Every county that we cover at FetcherNews.com, I go and I meet with the sheriff. When a new sheriff is elected, or we open a new county that we start to cover the area, I make, as the CEO, an effort to get over and sit down with the sheriff of the county and say, you have full support from our organization when it comes to law enforcement. I have done that. I'm not going to name sheriffs, but particularly this one this morning, Jeff Johnson. When Sheriff Johnson was elected in Dawson County, I went over with our reporter, FYN reporter Bill Johnson, and sat down with the sheriff and extended to him our support for law enforcement. So at no time are we interested here in our organization in doing anything negative or trying to hurt an investigation where law enforcement's concerned. But we will not carry the water for any elected official at this organization. Now, Mr. Johnson obviously has some news media outlets that I consider carry his water. He names them. We will not. The sheriff yesterday put out a fake news alert. So I jokingly reciprocated and called him the fake sheriff of Dawson County, which that probably upset him. But he put out a fake news alert. Today, online tabloid, Fetch Your News, published a report regarding a Dawson County Sheriff's sergeant refusal to respond to a motor vehicle accident. Bill Johnson writes, but the sergeant refused to go. So, I am the CEO of the alleged tabloid that he gives the fake news alert about, and Bill Johnson is the reporter that wrote the story, and that story exactly is accident victim waits 6 hours for help to arrive from Dawson County Sheriff's Office. So we have the dispatch call. I chose not to put it in the story. Bill Johnson wrote the story, and he wrote the transcript. And he wrote expletive. So what we've decided to do this morning is clear up why, over the history, there's a long history of Sheriff Jeff Johnson and Fetcher News. So we've decided this morning to clear up the background between the sheriff's office and our organization. The other thing is we decided to have play the dispatch call. We're going to play it right now. We want to warn you there's some foul language in this. We're not taking it out. We want you to hear exactly what happened that night that our organization, reported on. Okay? So we're going to play that. And then the reporter, Bill Johnson, is going to join us. And we're going to ask Bill about the story and maybe some other stories concerning the sheriff's office that, hey, we didn't carry his water. Now, I want you to know that Sheriff Johnson has been invited to the show. I want you to know that he has been invited twice this morning. No response. I've heard nothing from the sheriff. Sheriff Johnson has, I'm going to call it the nerve, to go on social media and blast our organization and claim we are lying to you. But he does not respond. And guess what? I was going to offer Sheriff Johnson an opportunity to just tell what he wanted. We have this crazy thing called freedom of speech. I was going to let him say whatever he wanted. No response whatsoever. So, by the way, if during this time the sheriff would like to respond and be on the show, the offer still stands. Just let us know. So here is the 911 call, not 911, I'm sorry. Here's the dispatcher and Sergeant, let me get this right. And this is Sergeant Larry Busher from the Dawson County Sheriff's Office. Again, warning, but here we go. Listen to the call.
Dawson County Sheriff's Office.
I'm going to get shot. You know that, right?
Busher, have you taken your medicine tonight? You are not going to get shot. This is not an ambush. This dude has just wrecked. He needs an accident report.
For a driver, we don't even know who he is.
Busher.
For a guy who doesn't even...
We go to accidents all the time when we don't know they're 27s.
Not in the middle of nowhere at 3 o'clock.
Busher.
Think about it.
You are fine. He is not going to shoot you.
How long?
He did not shoot the third-party caller.
We have made no contact with a third-party caller. The only person we're talking to is Bill.
Busher, you're going to be just fine. Saying. You're fine. Where are you at now?
It's great, so they name a school after me.
Where are you at now?
I'm not fucking going anywhere. Randy Harkness is coming with me.
Oh, my God. So you're not even close?
Oh, I'm at Nimblewell Church Road and Nimblewell Gap, but you're not telling him when I'm on my way.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Something about this isn't right.
Busher.
I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but if I'm right, it might just save my damn life.
Okay.
Something about this is just weird.
Okay.
I mean, who is Bill? Why is Bill up there? Where's Bill's car?
I don't know.
Why can't Bill drive him down?
I don't know.
So see, we got some hermit living on the mountain named Bill who's trying to lure a fucking cop up there.
I don't think that's the case. I think that maybe you're overreacting just a little bit.
County 911, what's the location of your emergency?
Nothing about this is right. Nothing about this is right at all.
Okay. Well, you be careful and wait for Randy. So, are you going to be up there before shift change, maybe?
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'll get there. I'll get there when I get there. Because you're right. If he's injured, I'm getting there.
Yeah. Well,
I want to make sure.
6-hour ETA. That's going to be a heck of a lawsuit.
Oh, okay.
Considering we don't have the capabilities of getting there.
Good. Okay.
And according to Randy, that road, Old Bucktown, that's Gilmer.
And it's not.
And this whole he might be injured bullshit, yeah, that's just to make sure we show up.
Okay.
I'm just, something ain't right with it.
Okay.
All right.
All right, goodbye.
Bye.
before we bring Bill Johnson on, I apologize for the language. Now, I understand we're in the big boy world, right? And people say bad words. But I don't know that language is appropriate to a dispatcher. I just don't. I don't know the lady. I just don't think that language was appropriate. Maybe they let it fly all the time and I don't know it. Hey, okay. Might be injured. Injured? Bullshit. Sorry, that's the line. Might be. All right. Okay. Now, we question at FYN, all right, why she asked, have you taken medication? Now, you got to listen over for the quote. He needs accident report. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. I'm not effing going anywhere. So when we write in the article, or Bill Johnson writes in the article, he refused to go, and Sheriff Johnson says that we lied and he did not refuse to go. I don't know. The audio can speak for itself. I'm not effing going anywhere. Maybe you're overreacting a little bit. I will get there when I get there. Now, I understand, okay? I had a phone call with somebody at 7 o'clock this morning, and I understand this is a very rural area, and there could be concern. But I'll get there when I get there. That is going to be one heck of a lawsuit, some of the things that were said. But according to today in an online tabloid, but the sergeant refused to go. Bill Johnson writes, but the sergeant refused to go. I don't know. Did you hear the sergeant say to the dispatcher, I'm not effing going anywhere? I don't know. Is Bill on the line with us?
Yes, sir. I'm with you.
Hey, Bill Johnson. Let's put the picture up. First, let me get Bill Johnson in here, FYN reporter. Bill, I don't remember. I didn't come in and do research this morning, but I think you've been posting on FYN for 3 years, maybe plus now.
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes, sir.
And you for the past 3 years plus, you have been reporting in the Dawson County, Lumpkin County, and White County area, correct?
That's right.
Before we get into the back history, Bill, the Sheriff Jeff Johnson has attacked us on social media, and particularly yourself, on the inaccuracies in this story. I read this story. The only thing you have written in this story was that they claim. Well, I'm going to say they claim one of the inaccuracies is that they actually waited 6 hours for somebody to respond. And who did you get that statement from?
That actually is from the computer-aided dispatch narrative. It came from there.
All right, now wait a minute. Let me get this correct. So when you're claiming, you're asserting in your story that there was actually 6 hours from that dispatch time to when somebody actually did in law enforcement respond to the call and get there. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, the first call, I believe, was at 12:29 a.m. on May 19th. And you can see how long it was before they responded. It was after 6 a.m. in the morning, so 6 hours.
So the 6 a.m. response that you're putting in your article actually comes from a dispatch reports?
That's correct.
All right, so all you're doing is reporting. You're reporting in this story the actual transcript of the call-in, the dispatch, and then you're reporting that it was 6 hours before a response, and I'm being redundant, came from the same dispatch office that we heard that call. Is that correct?
That's right, and it was also confirmed, in the article I mentioned that the person who actually found the the wrecked vehicle was a gentleman by the name of Bill Skinner. And Bill Skinner found the accident and stayed with it. He found it a little bit after midnight, and he stayed with it until, I don't remember the exact time, but it was after 6:30 in the morning. So it was more than 6 hours.
So Bill Skinner, you spoke with him, and is he the Bill that they keep referring to in the dispatch call?
That's the one, yes, sir.
All right, so we keep hearing Bill's name in a dispatch call, and then you spoke to Bill yourself, and he stayed with the gentleman that had the accident until the response, and it was well over 6 hours.
That's right.
All right, I just want to establish that because that is what we are, we're being taken to task on your reporting. So I want to ask you one other thing. Did you offer the sheriff, Jeff Johnson, an opportunity to respond to this story?
I always do, and I did in this case as well. Contacted him, and I was surprised that he responded at all because generally he won't return my phone calls. But in this case, he did respond via email. He sent me an email message saying, "Send me your questions," which I did, and to this date, I've still not heard anything from him.
So you reached out to the sheriff. He said, "All right, send your questions," and at this time, even as of this morning, you've not heard anything back concerning the questions you had for the sheriff.
That's right.
So Sheriff Jeff Johnson had a chance to respond, and the reason I'm laying this out is, as you well know, our FYN policy is to always give an opportunity for the other side, regardless of what the story is, to make a statement or respond in any way whatsoever. Correct?
Oh, absolutely. Anytime we do any story, we try and get right straight to the source. And if it's going to be something that may be of a negative nature, it's particularly important that we talk to the person involved in that and get their side of the story as well. And that, in this case, is what we also tried to do this time.
Well, one more thing, and you don't have to, you can answer this any way you wish. And the only thing I'm trying to do is just establish for our viewers out there that have maybe been reading Sheriff Johnson's post this morning, actually naming you and taking you to task. You've actually been reporting news for several years, correct?
Many years. Yes, sir.
I was going to let you handle that one any way you wanted. All right. But
I'm definitely a senior citizen.
Okay, well, this is not something you just started doing a couple years ago. You have quite an extensive background in reporting news. Okay, now let's step into something else on this call. You chose to write the transcript in your article, and and chose not to put the audio in, which we are going to today. We're going to put the audio in now. Since it's come into question. But what in that audio, as you listen to it, what are some of the things that concerned you the most as a reporter when you were listening to the dispatcher talk to the sergeant?
First of all, let me just tell you the impression. The 911 dispatcher is Miss Mullis. I forgot her first name, Mickey Mullis, I believe. Mickey Mullis, M-I-K-I, Mullis. I want to tell you, I think she did a very professional, very thoughtful job. She tried to reassure the deputy that there was no reason not to go when he absolutely refused, and she kind of did what she was supposed to do. She backed off and let the officer make the decision. The thing that really concerned me was he adamantly refused to go, as you said it, used that expletive deleted that I put into the article. And I thought the way that he talked to her was incredibly rude. And I thought for him not to go to a scene like that when he knew where it was. And let me just point out something that I found incorrect in the statement that the sheriff made on his Facebook page this morning, because I think this is really important. He said the officer drove around for 2 hours looking for the site. Well, let me tell you this, that The CAD narrative shows that at 12:46 a.m., a ping using the 911 apparatus confirmed the exact location of the accident at the end of Nimblewell Gap at the approach trail. Now, that seems pretty site-specific to me. And in the conversation, or excuse me, in the audio recording that you just played, the officer gave his location, and the location that he gave was, I'm saying, no more than 10 minutes from where that accident occurred. So those are some of the concerns I particularly had about the call.
Well, you know, one thing when you listen to it, Bill, the refusal immediately and the attitude immediately, without knowing the status of whether there was an injury. I mean, you know, how many times do they respond a year to an accident where there is no injury whatsoever, but unaware of that before they get there? And you know, I don't know, just the fact that before knowing any details, was just very adamant. Now, I'm not saying, I spoke to somebody at 7 o'clock this morning that knows the area and says, hey, after dark, that could be a scary area up there. And I understand that, but it was just the attitude, period, of not knowing whether the individual was injured, not knowing whether, you know, saying, you know, I'm not effing going anywhere. And, you know, I was a little concerned that the dispatch asked, hey, have you taken medication or something? You know, like, if you know, and I don't want to imply anything. That wouldn't be right for me. But, you know, there was a whole lot in that call that's disturbing. And I will say, you know, this is an opinion show. My opinion is it's not on the dispatch side that I'm disturbed by in that call. Let me ask you a question. Let's move along just a little bit. Sheriff Johnson, since elected, he has put out statements before in some of your reporting in that area saying consider the source. So this is not the first time he's not been pleased with our reporting, and we refuse to, my words, we refuse to carry anybody's water, and we're not going to do it. And let's just say this, and then I'm going to hand you to give it to you, and I want you to go through some of the history with the sheriff and our organization. And correct me if I say anything, you know, that is not accurate here, but when the sheriff first got elected, we covered all of his forums when he was running, and when he first got elected, you started reaching out to him to talk to him as the new sheriff, and he was reluctant to return any of your phone calls or messages. You and I spoke one day, and you shared that with me. And I said, well, let me get with him. I need to go say hello to him, and I need to introduce myself and tell him he has support of our organization. And I struggled a little bit in getting an appointment, but finally I did. You and I attended this appointment together, and I think we spent a half hour with the sheriff and sent out an olive branch of support, how we would help him and the sheriff's office in any way whatsoever, as far as positive things in the county, and if he communicate with us, and we'll do anything we can, and that never come to, is the word fruition. That never developed, did it, Bill? Am I right up to there? And then what happened in the relationship there in some of the reporting?
Yeah, well, you're right. It never did develop. Let me just say this before I begin. 99% of the men and women who work for that Dawson County Sheriff's Office, they're among the best law enforcement officers in the state of Georgia. I know many of them personally, and I have the utmost respect for them. It's Sheriff Johnson's leadership that I think has been a question mark. You know, 3 years ago when he came into office, I think the last 3 years, I should say, have been tainted by events that reflect negatively on the department. 3 years ago when he came into office, his first year in office, he alienated the entire Board of Commissioners when he sued the county for a bigger budget. Now, he lost that lawsuit, and let me tell you, when the judge issued his verdict, the judge told him point blank that his testimony was not truthful, and that's been a problem. I can promise you that the Board of Commissioners will be very happy if he loses that 2020 election. The next year he was in office, it was marked by the arrest of 3 separate detention officers on various charges ranging from having sexual relations with an inmate to assault and battery on their wives. Then there was the incident last year where an entire night patrol shift went AWOL to play badminton, leaving the county with no officers on the street. And now we have this incident where a patrol sergeant refuses to report to the scene of the accident. So I think his entire term has been marked with some negative incidents, and we, like you say, we're not going to carry the water for anybody. If something like this happens, we're going to report it, and of course, it does reflect negatively on his leadership, and he doesn't appreciate that.
Well, I want to thank you for your comment, because first and foremost, I said to begin with, we support law enforcement, and we will support law enforcement. And you and I together, when we had that meeting with the sheriff that day, we extended that support together to him. And
yes,
and I don't want to say never. I can't think of, I don't want to get caught saying never if at one time he may have responded, but he basically doesn't respond to any question you have. How often does he respond to any of your phone? Now, this is over 3 years. Any of your phone calls, messages, anything?
I can only remember one time, and that was probably, 2 years ago. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't remember the incident. He initially started, I think he answered actually a couple of times when we were reporting the story on him filing the lawsuit against the county. I think we did get a response or two from him initially. We actually heard from his lawyer who was not happy with our reporting on that. But again, every single thing that we wrote was factual, so I take that criticism with a grain of salt.
Well, what I'm getting at there is, we have we have very good relationships with many of the surrounding county sheriffs, many of the sheriffs in surrounding counties, and
that's right.
I think the strength of those relationships, they respond. If there's an investigation, they respond. They will respond to us and say, look, we can't go any further because it's going to hurt the investigation. And we have never gone rogue. Our organization, and you know me, I won't allow us to go rogue if we're going to hurt an investigation into any other, anything going on. So, but they respond and they communicate with us. And this guy has just never taken that opportunity. Now, I'm going to say there are some other media sources in the area that he makes sure that he sends his statement, and they don't question, they don't question him. They just send a statement, they don't question it. And that's where he puts out his propaganda. Those are my words as far as what he wants people to know. But my biggest thing here is, in this story, is you follow them all the way through, and I don't want to say retraction, and I don't want to take that, but our organization here, if somebody actually came to the table and called you, and they had the information right in front of you, you would write and say, hey, this is the other side of the information, or this is what we're being told in the story. Correct?
Yes, sir. We've done that in the past.
Well, I want to thank you. Is there anything else where this story is concerned, or any of the other stories where the sheriff of Dawson County is concerned?
only that the communication lines are still open. If Sheriff Johnson would like to contact me at any time and answer any questions or ask me any questions, I'm open to hearing from him. We believe, while the sheriff may not, we believe in transparency, and that's kind of the anchor of what we do.
I appreciate it. I thank you for your reporting. Continue that reporting over there in Dawson, White, and Lumpkin County for FetcherNews.com. Bill, I appreciate you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you too.
Okay, folks. Now, before we close this story, give me the picture of Jeff Johnson, the sheriff, okay? And I want to say this in all due respect. I mean, he has gone on social media and has attacked us and got a big thing called fake news alert. And maybe you should listen all the way through to the audio, and maybe you should look at several stories in the past. And he has come after Fetcher News and said, consider the source multiple times. And he writes his little statement and he sends it to the liberal press that he enjoys that carries the water for him. I made a slight joke responding to his fake news alert and calling us a tabloid fake news company to the fake sheriff of Dawson County. But as Bill Johnson said, I want to look at this camera and tell every deputy out there, dispatcher out there, first responders and sheriffs, as the CEO of this corporation, you have our full support. And if there's ever a story comes up and one of our reporters contact you, communicate with them, respond, talk to them. And if you feel in any way whatsoever that maybe our reporter would hurt an investigation, whatever you think, call me up. Send me a message. Email me. You have all these ways of getting in touch with me. Because let me tell you something. I have a sheriff, I'm going to say on a weekly basis, that calls me to discuss something that may be going on that we may need to be aware of. But we also want to wait for some things to develop in the case. So we are not the first to break news, and sometimes we wish we were right there at the top. We like to be the first to break accurate news. And Jeff Johnson, the sheriff's only problem this morning is, for some reason, he won't talk to us. Maybe, as Bill said when he was there and the judge made a statement that said, Sheriff Johnson, I don't feel that your testimony has been very honest. Those are my words. I don't know what the quote is, but Bill says, basically, the judge said, you lied. That was maybe what he said. I don't know. He has never liked our organization because of Bill Johnson's accurate reporting. So, Sheriff, I offered you twice. I will offer you again. If you want to come on here, Sheriff, and tell everybody in the world why you don't like us, why you've not talked to us in 3 years, hey, put the number on the screen, Josh, real quick. There you go. Ain't hard. Okay? Come back. Folks, the dispatch call stands on its own. The refusal to go to the scene is something you can listen to, and we're going to put it on there. So the story is, if you're interested in the story, okay, the story is, I had here just a second ago, in Dawson County. Go to FetcherNews.com, Dawson County. Accident victim waits 6 hours for help to arrive from Dawson County Sheriff's Office. And by the way, Sheriff Johnson, You just keep sending them statements to that liberal media press that you send it to. All right? I'm your host, BKP. We'll be right back after these messages.